Ever imagine yourself with a personalized fighter plane, like right in the heat of World War II?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. The story of Lope's Hope,
Okay.
a P-40 Warhawk,
Wow.
flown by a true American ace, Donald S. Lopez.
Cool.
Our listener, Gulf Whiskey from Valdosta, Georgia, sent us some amazing research on this. And let me tell you, they did some serious digging.
It's always so exciting to see that kind of passion, for history. And today we get to explore it together.
Right.
We'll uncover the story behind Lope's Hope and see how it fits into Donald Lopez's journey with the 75th Fighter Squadron successors to the legendary Flying Tigers.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Think about being a pilot in World War II.
Right.
You're strapping into this machine, knowing you're going head-to-head with the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Giving it a name like Lope's Hope wasn't just some quirky tradition, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
It was a way to boost morale, to forge a bond with your aircraft.
right.
Imagine the psychological impact.
Yeah.
You're not just flying any P-40. You're flying Lope's Hope, a symbol of your own optimism and fighting spirit. And we know that fighting spirit was strong in Donald Lopez.
And that name really hints at the kind of pilot he was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just bravado. This guy racked up 5 confirmed aerial victories.
Wow.
That's got to take serious skill, especially in the China-Burma-India theater.
Absolutely.
What was it like flying in the CBI?
Oh, the CBI often gets overshadowed by the European theater,
Sure.
but it was incredibly demanding.
Yeah.
Think intense heat, treacherous mountains,
Oh my gosh.
and limited resources.
Wow.
And you're going up against skilled Japanese pilots,
Yeah.
often in their nimble Zero fighters.
5 kills in that theater.
Yeah.
Again, zeros. Wow. Okay, so to get the full picture of Lopez's accomplishments,
Yeah.
we need to zoom out a bit.
Okay.
He was part of the 75th Fighter Squadron, which has a direct lineage to those maverick heroes, the Flying Tigers. Can you imagine the weight of that legacy on your shoulders?
The Flying Tigers were practically legends by the time the 75th took up their mantle.
Yeah.
They were known for their daring raids and for holding back the Japanese advance in China early in the war.
Right.
That connection adds a whole new level of prestige to Lopez's story.
Talk about pressure.
Oh, yeah.
But the 75th wasn't operating in isolation.
Right.
They were part of the 23rd Fighter Group, right?
That's right.
What was their role in the CBI?
The 23rd was instrumental in disrupting Japanese operations
Okay.
and protecting vital Allied supply lines.
Yeah.
Imagine facing the full force of the Japanese war machine day in and day out.
Oh, wow.
It must have been incredibly intense.
So how did they survive?
Yeah.
Let alone succeed against such odds? Did they have some secret weapon?
Well, their secret weapon was actually a clever adaptation of their equipment and tactics.
Yeah.
The P-40 wasn't known for its maneuverability, especially compared to the Zero.
Right.
But it was fast in a dive and packed a serious punch.
So instead of trying to outturn the Japanese in a dogfight, they'd hit hard and fast, then get out before the enemy could react.
Exactly. It was a
Okay.
classic hit-and-run tactic, perfectly suited to the P-40's strengths and the challenging conditions of the CBI.
Right.
And it proved surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
They played to their strengths, turning a potential weakness into a tactical advantage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really fascinating how they were able to just completely turn that weakness into a strength.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that even in a huge conflict like World War II, it's these individual acts of ingenuity and courage
Right.
that really made all the difference.
Absolutely. Every pilot, every mechanic,
Yeah.
every member of the support crew played a role in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And speaking of individuals making a difference, let's get back to Donald Lopez.
Yeah. Let's get back to Lope.
He didn't just hang up his wings after the war, did he?
No, not at all. He took his passion for aviation in a whole new direction, and this is where his story really resonated with me. He went on to work at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum.
That's right. He played a crucial role there, especially in developing exhibits that showcase the history of military aircraft. What's fascinating is that he wasn't just preserving these planes, he was bringing their stories to life.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the hardware.
Right.
It was about honoring the people who flew those planes.
Yeah.
The sacrifices they made, the battles they fought. I mean, think about it. He lived through that history. He knew what it felt like to be in the cockpit,
Yeah.
to face enemy fire, to depend on your crewmates.
It's one thing to read about a dogfight in a history book.
Right.
But it's a whole other level to experience it firsthand, to feel the adrenaline, the fear, the camaraderie.
Yeah, that experience must have had a profound impact on his approach to museum work.
Right.
What kind of exhibits did he help create? Was there anything specific about his work that stood out?
Unfortunately, the research doesn't go into detail about specific exhibits.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's safe to say that he would have brought a unique perspective, a deep understanding of the human element behind the machines.
It makes me picture him standing in front of a P-40, maybe even one that looks just like Lope's Hope,
Right.
and sharing his stories with visitors,
Yeah.
connecting them to that piece of history in a way that only someone who'd been there could do.
Exactly. He could convey the sense of responsibility a pilot felt towards his plane, the pride in maintaining it, the relief of bringing it back safely after a mission. He could connect the dots between a technical detail about the P-40's design and how it felt to fly that plane in combat.
So it wasn't just about dates and specs.
Right.
He could tell you what it felt like to pull those G's in a dive, to hear the rattle of the machine guns, to see tracers zipping past your canopy.
He could make those exhibits come alive for visitors, helping them understand the human cost of war, the courage and sacrifice it demanded,
Right.
the sheer determination it took to survive.
It's interesting to think about how his wartime experiences might have shaped his work at the Smithsonian. Do you think he saw those exhibits as a way to teach future generations about the true nature of war?
I think so. It's possible he saw it as a way to honor his fellow pilots,
Yeah.
to ensure that their stories weren't forgotten. And maybe he hoped to inspire a sense of gratitude for the sacrifices made to secure the freedoms we enjoy today.
It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just about abstract events and political figures.
Right.
It's about the personal stories of the people who lived through those times.
Yeah.
It's about their hopes, their fears, their triumphs, their losses.
And those individual stories, when woven together, create the rich tapestry of our past. They provide context and meaning to the larger historical narrative.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if for Donald Lopez, working at the Smithsonian was his way of continuing to serve his country in a way even after the war was over.
That's a really interesting point. It suggests a deep sense of duty and a desire to use his experiences to educate and inspire others.
And it highlights the enduring impact of those wartime experiences on his life.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a chapter he closed and moved on from. It continued to shape his path long after the fighting ended.
Yeah, it really is incredible to think about just how those wartime experiences stuck with him all those years later. It makes you think about, all the other veterans who found ways to keep their service with them, not as a burden, but as this source of meaning and purpose,
Right. It speaks to just that profound impact
Yeah.
that serving in war can have on a person's life.
Yeah.
It shapes their values, their
Makes it
outlook,
right.
their understanding of the world.
And in Donald Lopez's case, it really seems to have fueled his passion for preserving and sharing the stories of his fellow airmen.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what kind of legacy do you think he left behind, both in his military service and his work at the Smithsonian?
Well, on a personal level, he left a legacy of courage, skill, and dedication.
Right.
His achievements as a fighter pilot in the CBI
Yeah.
are a testament to his abilities and his work at the Smithsonian.
Right. Demonstrates just a deep respect for history and a commitment to education.
It's almost like those two parts of his life, the wartime pilot and the museum curator.
Right.
They were two sides of the same coin,
Yeah,
both driven by this passion for aviation,
absolutely.
a desire to serve, and a deep appreciation for the human stories behind the machines.
Exactly. He embodies the idea that, a life of service doesn't end when you take off the uniform.
Right.
It can continue in countless ways, shaping the world around you and inspiring others.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that history isn't just about battles and dates.
Right.
It's about the individual experiences of the people who lived through those events. It's about their struggles, their triumphs, their losses, and their legacies.
And it's through those individual stories like that of Donald Lopez and Lope's Hope
Yeah.
that we can truly connect with the past
Right.
and understand its relevance to our present.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Donald Lopez's story, I'm left with a sense of awe for his accomplishments and a renewed appreciation for the sacrifices made by all who served in World War II.
And it leaves us with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
How do these personal narratives enhance our understanding of history?
Yeah.
How do they illuminate the human element within those monumental events? And how can we ensure that these stories continue to be told and remembered for generations to come?
It really makes you think. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to give a huge thanks to our listener, Gulf Whiskey, for sending in this awesome research.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And to you for, helping us unpack it all.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all of our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into the past. Be sure to check out our website for more information on Donald Lopez, the 75th Fighter Squadron, and the P-40 Warhawk. And if you have any suggestions for future deep dives, please don't hesitate to send them our way.
We love hearing from you.
Until next time, keep exploring.